No, I'm just doing my hair. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to Spring Magic for Manifestation with myself, Rachael, teacher, healer, author, and modern mystic. And I'm here with Eloise. I always get confused. It is this side, I think, who is the Money Alchemist. Hello, Eloise. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good, good. My 2-year-old has just wandered into the room very quietly. Thank you, Matt. Can you go and get her? She's just given me, which was very sweet, this. Bye-bye, baby. Come on. So there was a reason, but I think it was probably to go through the crystals. Hi, Angela. Hi. As you guys do come on live, please say hi. It's always nice to know who's here and what you're up to and your thoughts as we go along. So any questions you've got as we go along, please ask. And spring is a really interesting time of year because everything's starting to shift. Even though we've sort of set seeds before and really we've done a lot of the hard work before, I think this is the time of actually physically seeing stuff shift. And we were just talking actually about feeling the energy as a result of it. It's not always easy, that growth energy, is it, Eloise?
Definitely not. And I think this time of year is a really good example because we're expecting frosts again next week, aren't we? Even though we've had like almost 20 degrees this week. So it's hard for nature as well. Not just us that struggle. It's like, what's going on?
It's true. Yeah, my kids aren't best pleased that it's that the frost has come during the Easter holidays. You know, mummy isn't happy either because it means we can't get out as much as I would have hoped. So it's the energy at this time of year is about growth and nurturing. So we would have already set all of our seeds over winter, over those other periods, and there is still some time to set seeds as well, which is the other thing. If you look at any of the packets, you will still have planting all the way up to May in terms of trying to get some energetic seeds in there. So this is a really good time for, if there's any last things that you want to set seeds, setting those seeds, and additionally for nurturing what's already there, because that's really, really important. What we've already started and what we've already planted, we really need to make sure it kind of continues and moves forward. And do you do a similar sort of thing, Eloise?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were just talking before about how when we plant the seeds, things can feel very delicate for a little while, can't they? And for me, we have to create those little garden cloches, those little seeds. It's all new and it's quite uncomfortable, but I love this time of year. It's the time I really come out of hibernation and start going for it, even though I'm not a fan of summer, believe it or not. I love winter, but I have to slow down in winter. So I'm having to limber up everything, my intention setting, my body, ready to go into the spring. But I love it. Absolutely.
It's I'm the same as you. I don't do well in the sun. I did a healing for someone the other evening and I said it's really good because it's been sunny. I've been out in the sun and actually you're going to get a whole load of energy. I can't store the energy. Like my body goes, what? I don't know what to do with all this sun energy. And so it works really well for healing purposes. Literally like a battery that I need to kind of get rid of the energy because I kind of almost feel hot. Like it makes me feel too hot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but totally.
I'm the same. The winter has got that nice feeling to it where you kind of have to slow down a little bit, but actually I've done enough work over the kind of spring and summer to take more energy through into the winter. And I know that and I do then feel it in the winter. I do feel that slowdown, but not as much as I used to actually. Since I started working with the Wheel of the Year, I have found that I'm able to take more energy over from the spring and the summer all the way through. And I like autumn as well. Like autumn for me is a really, really nice time before we get into the winter. That my winters are a lot easier since I've been doing the energetic work and the intention setting. It's like it's automatically storing everything up.
because we experience those seasons as well, don't we, in our bodies and our minds. And yeah, when I first discovered that, it was like, oh my goodness, that's why I struggle so much in the winter and why I'm so full of beans coming, into spring. And yeah.
Interesting. Absolutely. It's something that we need to really recognize. I think it's really important to recognize the seasons and recognize how they affect us, and also not just how they affect us, but how we can work with them. So if we really put that effort into making sure that we have a really good spring and moving that energy forward into the summer, and so we can take that energy forward, we can use that not just for energetic purposes for us personally, but also for manifesting our life's path and all of the rest of the things that come with manifesting our life's path. All of that for me is really, really important. What was I going to say? I've got coming up in, I think it's Saturday of next week, I have got my spring candle magic workshop coming up. So what I like to do there is to talk about all the different flowers and all of the different, because this is such a nice time of year to go out picking flowers. And if you guys haven't made your a little spring Easter decoration with all your flowers and bits and pieces, like it's so much fun going out and collecting. And I did go out with a pair of secateurs, like some lunatics, like literally like cutting like quite hefty sprigs of really beautiful cherry blossoms and other blossom trees around the area that I live. And somebody stopped me and said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I am collecting some branches for an Easter decoration." "Oh, that's really nice." But yes, it is.
That's so funny. I actually always have a pair of secateurs and what I call my brave gloves in my coat pocket, just in case. Just in case. I'm not the only one that does that.
I thought if a police officer stops and searches me, I'll be like, yes, this is a deadly weapon I have in the buggy bag for chopping down the branches. And they were all laid out on top of the buggy. And what was really nice is when we did that walk with the kids, somebody had also had I think it's not a snowdrop, I can't quite remember what it is. It's like a white bough, not a bluebell, but a white bough. And they must have had loads of them in their garden, and they'd wrapped up packages of them in newspaper and left them out for people to take away. So I took 2 packets, and I've got a couple of plant pots out the back, which I've popped them in because I think they can be a bit rampant. So, but it was really nice that on that day when we brought all of that sort of spring energy into the house, at the same time we picked up some stuff for the garden. And we had a particularly sparse garden when we moved in, so we've had to do a lot of work to pick up that energy and bring that nature energy back in. Yeah,
I've got a very unnaturey garden because we live in a new house and we astroturfed the garden because no one's going to be mowing that. But we have, over the few years we've been here, we've got hydrangeas which are really sturdy and they have amazing plants, and they've started to bud already. They think it's well into spring, and a little acer tree and things like that. But it is nice when you bring the nature back into the garden, isn't it? And
yeah,
we're starting to see more wildlife like birds and beetles and things like that coming in.
Yeah, or the bees that always freak my kids out. My son's like, "It's a bee!" I'm like, "Good, yay, it's a bee!" So, it's a bee! Running into them. This big fat slow bumblebee, just like bopping.
It's a wonder that they fly. It's so magical how they fly, because they shouldn't be able to fly, should they? Apparently.
And what's really nice is that we do start seeing some of these more, as you said, more magical insects coming out at this time of year. Obviously with the bee, you've got the sacred geometry with the bee because they naturally produce the hexagon. They're very, very magical creatures to have in your garden. Honey is unbelievably healing when you don't buy the stuff which is boiled up syrup and you buy the genuine stuff. For well cared for bees, I would like to say, if you're going to buy honey, make sure that it's from a company that loves its bees and leaves them with enough for the winter, not, although, because they do often not leave them with enough for the winter. So Yeah, bees are really, but also, as you say, the beetles. We've had quite a few stag beetles in our garden, and they're amazing.
They're like
creatures.
They're things that shouldn't be able to fly, aren't they? And they're so mechanically perfect.
Yes.
They're immaculate beings, aren't they?
And when you look at them up close, you're like, you don't look like something that's pretty enough to fly.
No.
But yet they do. They just fly along. And the really interesting thing about stag beetles is that they are a relation, part of the same family as the scarab beetle, which is very, very sacred to the Egyptians. So again, like, you've got some really magical energy starting to emerge and starting to come out. We know that spiders, which are there anyway, you find them in the house more over the winter, but when you're seeing them outside, and the webs, and they're very much linked into the control, which is when we come to manifestation, and when we come to looking at energy and manifesting from energy, we're really looking at control and the stepping through the web that is weaved, and so the web and the spider are really, really important when it comes to looking at this sort of manifestation. And if anyone's really resonates with the beetle, then you can research grandmother spider. She comes up in a whole host of cultures, and she first started to come to me quite a few years ago, before I even realized how widely recognized she was. She started to come to me, so and she's an amazing creature to work with, an amazing being to work with, and she's all about giving up control, and allowing yourself to kind of walk through the pathway that you've set for yourself, or the pathway that is your pathway. So energetically, when you're looking to make kind of insects as well, they're a very grounded version of nature, not like any mammals or anything like that. They're very, very old. When we look at any of these insects, they're really old creatures. So we're tuning into ancient wisdom, but equally we're turning into a very grounded version of energy. And a lot of us are really good, aren't we, at doing all of the work up here. We're really good at going, oh, it's that mindset I need to sort out, and spot that mindset, and then actually grounding it out and doing something real with it and making it real. A lot of us really struggle with that, don't we, Eloise?
I definitely do. As you know, like, I rarely have my feet touching the ground. And a lot of the times I can close my eyes and I'm floating. But I find spiders fascinating. We've got a bay window here, and they like to build their webs. And they can do a lot with vibration through their webs, can't they?
Yes.
And so they're a really great metaphor for attracting in terms of manifestation, because it's all about the vibration that you put out and what comes back.
We love that. Yeah, absolutely. I really do love that metaphor. So, if you're looking energetically to work with insects, it's a bizarre. I think a lot of people probably would think, oh God, insects. They're really powerful guides. They're really, really powerful guides. And if we kind of look to some of the Native American cultures and look at a totem, there's always insects in the totem. There's always reptiles in the totem. There's always these really fundamental creatures which are designed to kind of bring in that real world change and to ground everything out. So
yeah, and they have huge jobs for such little things as well. They clear a lot of all sorts of things, don't they? And they build things, and they are busy, those little insects. They really, really contribute. We don't spend enough time noticing them. So it's lovely when you see them in the garden going about their business.
It is. And you've picked up on something which is actually really important, is that depending on where you are with your grounding, learning lessons from the insects is really important. I think because a lot of us get icked out by them, we really struggle with it. Like a spider, for example, a fly is unbelievably cleansing. I know that we think that it's disgusting, and yes, they are gross. You don't want them sitting up in the food, laying the eggs. But if it wasn't for things like flies, we would just have carcasses everywhere. And there was a dead hedgehog on the way home from school, which we watched for months. going through all of those different stages before it became just like this very flat fossilized creature which the kids would pull Mr. Hedgehog on the way home from school. And all the other parents thought we were weird. I was like, no, this is teaching them about nature. These are massive lessons. So something as ugly and disgusting as a fly they actually serve huge purposes within the world and within society. Actually, I know that we probably don't want to see them as being part of our society, but they absolutely are. They're
and like bees, they're endangered at the moment, aren't they? And they're responsible for pollinating. Without bees, we are going to starve. Like, they're so important, and they're so busy as well. So I think insects are underrated a lot of the time.
They are. It's if you find a bee that's been knocked down, sugar water in a spoon, and let it get some energy back before it flies off. And we've done that a few times, and it's really amazing to see when a bee's run out of energy and they're a bit grounded. And you kind of feel like, I've saved a bee, because they are endangered. We are literally going to die without the bees. We kind of need to get our acting gear. It's, we can't do too much. We've actually got at the back of the garden a little sort of insect house.
I've seen those. A little bamboo thing.
We've got the one thing that has taken up an amazing resonance is the ugliest spider I've ever seen, but she's amazing. She spins the ugliest web, but she is fierce. And it was really interesting because I've got her on one side, and on the other side I've got a very big common garden spider on the other side of the fence at the back. So my garden's well and truly protected by spider energy.
Lovely.
But it's one of those I can't remember I did look it up at the time, but a very black, shiny, big sort of bulbous spider sort of sat at the back there. And she's doing a good job of eating the rubbish in our garden. So nice. She's really good. It's those little things that we can do. In our last house, we actually had burrowing bees in our garden.
They live in the ground, don't they?
They do. We had half a field for our back garden, so there was plenty of space. Then we just sort of netted it off and let the kids know where they were, and we would watch them going in and out. So that garden was amazing. We had slow worms and everything in that garden.
Fabulous.
Really, really nice. So what we've tried to do in our garden is to create some of that energy and bring some of that nature energy in, and effectively the fairy and the sprite energy, bring all of that stuff back into this garden. Respecting nature, I think, is a really, really important part of any sort of manifestation. If you want grounded real world results in terms of your life manifestation, you've got to be in tune with nature and respect nature to get that groundedness. I think both of those things are entwined for me. Definitely,
because you have to, we talk about all the work up here, but to really manifest, we need to be in both places, don't we? So the earth, we have to really look after that and give a good nod to it to bring everything else towards us.
Absolutely. When the way that we're talking in a bit about, if you don't mind, about magic checks and checks from the universe, because they're amazing and they're a really brilliant way of bringing some focused, grounded, real energy in. When we do anything that's grounded, and grounded means real, when we start doing physical things, which most of us would think of as craft work or spell work or witchcraft, actually is going to make real the energy that we've got up here. So like I said, most of us are really good with all of this energy. You get all your head around stuff and you're like, I can see the perspective, and you're like, why isn't that happening in my life? Why is nothing happening? And it's because it's not grounded out and we haven't made it real. And there's some really simple ways that we can make it real. Writing is a way of making things real. That's a really amazing way of making things real. And there's a technique you can use called the 7 wants, where you write down 7 things, and you could apply it to an area of your life, or you could just write down the 7 things that you want. And we're talking about wants, we're not talking about needs. Unless you have some really basic needs which haven't been met. These are more about things that you want on top of everyday life.
Needs can be quite hard to manifest, can't they? Because you have a different vibration around needs to wants.
Yes.
And it's much lower and it needs to be higher.
Yes. What's really interesting is if we just expect our needs to be met and we do the work around expecting our needs to be met, that stuff will come in automatically.
Yeah.
For a lot of us who are spiritual and probably had far too many spiritual previous lives, stuck in a nunnery, not being able to own stuff, that what we end up doing is not expressing our needs. We're not used to expressing what we need, and telling people what we need. So that communication and being able to confidently express our needs and have those needs met is a really important part of that vibration.
And like you say, expecting that they'll be met. There's no doubt about it. Just expecting that it's going to happen. Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, if you're a good person, and I think most of us are, what you'll find is that actually that's kind of like a given law of the universe, that stuff should just be given, that your basic needs are met. And I think so many of us are used to sacrificing that doesn't happen. And then what you can do with the 7 wants, which is this wanting energy as opposed to a needing energy, and that's sometimes quite difficult. Actually, Nikki and I had a conversation about it recently. What's the difference between a want and a need, and how do I tell the difference between them? And what do I want and what do I need? And it's sometimes, I think, particularly traditionally women, but I'm not saying men don't fall into this bracket at all, because they often do, is that you're brought up in a society where your needs are put last. And that actually you're so used to that what you think is a need is actually, you know, what you think is a want is actually a need. Those are basic needs.
I've been looking into this as well, actually, and the simplest way I can explain it is a want is normally a don't want. So it has the wrong energy when we start doing this. So I change it now and say, what do I desire? Because desire is like a whole nother level, isn't it? And it's a feeling from within you. Yeah. And if you think, well, I'd like a day to myself. Like what you're saying is, I don't want all the stress and noise every single day. Do you see what I mean? So I now think about, what do I desire I feel it in my solar plexus and my heart. What do I desire? And that's how I know that my wants aren't actually like a positive phrasing of a don't want.
Yes. Yeah, I get that. I just want some peace and quiet, right? Yes, absolutely. Not actually I don't want the noise for just a few days, thank you very much. I don't want to feel like I'm going crazy.
So if it is a positively phrased don't want, then it's not a want. But we trick ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, we do. But and again, I think this is what gets back to those, like you say, the difference between a need and something else is that, you know, a lot of us do need peace and quiet to function and to feel well. And let's face it, we've been stuck in houses a lot more recently than we ever have been. And it's more natural. You think years ago you would be playing outside, and if we think naturally, a lot of our living was outside, so the kids could be noisy and it actually wouldn't reverberate and do your head in so much. So you know, it's all of that stuff where we live in quite unnatural circumstances. So
and I think we're more sensitive than previous generations, aren't we? We're certainly, I can't walk down the main road because the sound of it just batters my head. And I don't ever remember anyone in my past having that issue. I think as a generation, we're more sensitive to everything.
I think we are. And I think it kind of makes sense with maybe some of the more sensitive children that we're having in terms of autism and different points of the spectrum, you know, that we're bringing through generations of children who are more sensitive. And I would think that's probably a system overload, that we've just had enough of all the noise, the craziness. Okay, I like that. It's not, you don't want a positively phrased I don't want. What you want is an I desire.
So in that, I just want a day to myself. What you're actually desiring is peace, to explore your inner world, or peace. It's not time to yourself, it's peace that you're desiring.
Absolutely. That makes total sense, because the way that I work with, if anyone joins me with the candle magic workshop, what they'll see is that you're tuning into the emotion that you want. what you physically want, because we do things like we do put those caveats on it, which kind of mean that, like you say, what I want is peace, but I'm asking for a day off, and that day off it may not be a peaceful day off, it might be a day off which is really loud and crazy. So actually focusing yourself on the emotion, on something which is quite intangible, and then the universe effectively builds in its pathway to take you to that point.
And it meets that vibration, doesn't it? That, like the spider putting out the vibration.
Yes, it meets the right vibration.
So if you're thinking about that feeling, it's going to come in on that feeling.
Yes, absolutely. So the 7 wants is a really nice 7 desires, and change that now to the 7 desires. It's really interesting because I'm trying to get together what I think. I don't know if I'm going to announce the name there. No. A membership scheme, which is going to be a few £few a month. The idea is that it's the price of a coffee, with some exercises to dip in and out of as you wish to. And one of them I was going to put in was the 7 wants. And actually, thank you, Eloise, I'm going to change it to the 7 desires. So I'm missing that, and I'm going with it. So
it does have a different ring, doesn't it? Desires, it's like gorgeous chocolate and yummy, and
and it's not a day off; it's a spa day. It's that's the difference. Yeah.
It's a good word, but I learned. I've been thinking about that, learning about it, and I was like, oh yeah. So for me, desire is the word that I have to think of.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. So if you do your list of 7 desires, as something comes up, you cross it off and replace it with something else. And you can change it anytime. So if you've written out 7 things and you think, oh my gosh, I've been too restrictive on the language on some of that, or very specific about how I want something to appear, and that's a big challenge with intention setting, and all of that stuff is being too specific, because the universe is going to go, you've only given me one option, and that's really difficult. I could do it approaching it from another angle. So giving your so you can rewrite the list as many times as you want to, rephrase it as you need to, and it works really well. I've manifested a lot of stuff from that. So the 7 is such a magical number as well. There's certain numbers that really work. 3 is a really magical number. 7 is also a very magical number. 3 comes in basically with pi, and that's where it comes in. The other thing with 7, you've got the 7 chakras, 7 dimensions. There's a whole load of magic that happens with the number 7 as well. So 7 is a really good, and if you can't think of 7 desires, then maybe think of 3 if you kind of stuck and think, because for a lot of us, actually thinking past basic stuff is quite difficult.
It's the hardest. I know when I ask my clients what do they want for them, they often come up with things that they want for their kids or their family, like their sister or their mum. I want my mum to be looked after, and it's a really difficult thing to think about what you want for you. It's a lot harder than it sounds, isn't it?
It is. And actually I think that that's something which should give us all hope in a way, which is that we're not assholes. We're good people who want good things for other people, and if we do initially struggle with trying to focus ourselves on what we want and what we desire, that actually it means that we're good people. So the stuff that we're going to choose, the desires that we're going to choose, are going to be good desires, which are going to help the world. And you often talk, Eloise, yourself, don't you, about how money amplifies the energy that you are. So if you're a good person, accepting and having more money into your life is just going to amplify all of that goodness.
And it works on that. It's on that principle of the cup. So it's all very well filling your cup up, but if it's not overflowing, there's a risk of it becoming empty again. So by creating what you desire for you is not selfish. It just enables you to give even more to even more people. But when we talk about money, we say that money only amplifies who you are. So if you're an amazing person, you're going to be even more amazing when you have what you want in terms of money, because it just magnifies that. But it is true for in anything, I think. Like you said at the beginning, we're in a society where we tend to self-sacrifice, and actually we're happier and everyone around us is happier when we are when we're overflowing. They can just take a bit of our energy without draining the cup. It's so important to put ourselves, because we are so important. We're so important to so many people. If we are not overflowing enough, when we run empty, who's going to be there for all those people? Like, it's so important to think of ourselves, and yet it still feels really, I don't know, it feels a bit selfish, doesn't it? But it's not.
It's interesting, and actually, you know, that the compassion is external and internal. That it flows both ways, and that's where the balance with compassion comes from. If you can't be compassionate for yourself, then really, how are you going to be compassionate for other people? Because you're not going to be able to give, as you say, from that overflow of compassion. So, you know, compassion absolutely works for ourselves, because when we start to look at our situations from the perspective of the universe looks at us, our desires, what we need, all of that stuff with a very compassionate view, with a very compassionate eye. So, you know, sometimes we do need to say no to things and have boundaries around certain areas of our lives in order to make sure that that cup is overflowing, so that we can give in balance, so that when we put ourselves to something, we're not putting in 30% or 50% or 60%. We can put in that 100% that we need to, and it means that things are done quicker, more efficiently, better, and we feel better about giving it. The second we start begrudging giving something, like it, for me, that's the time where I go, okay, I need to really think about, why am I doing this? Am I doing it because I feel I have to? You know, is it that I need to step away from this for a short time to step into it again? Is it that I need to say no to this full stop? Is it something that I actually need to move out of my life on a permanent basis? And sometimes you don't know that. Sometimes you just know, I need to say no for the time being, and I'll know at some point if I want that thing back when I'm in a better place emotionally.
And I was just thinking then as well that actually when we are empty, when we don't have good boundaries, it's actually harder for us to manifest, because we start, you know, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm empty and I need to recover for whatever reason, I've overgiven, or, you know, I've done too much for someone, I do things, or I actively don't do the things that I know will help me, because I'm too tired and I can't be bothered, even though I'm sat there going, I know it's going to make me feel better to do some candle magic or get my cards out. We kind of perpetuate it. So keeping ourselves topped up and overflowing helps us manifest even more, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And actually that's one of my key signs is, and it's something I've noticed myself over the last few weeks, because like I said, there has been difficult energy, is my self-care goes, and I'll stop drinking enough water. And that's, for me, is the first sign that I need to kind of start reining stuff in. And
even though you know it's good for you, you just don't do it, do you?
And I'll be thinking, and actually those are the times where quite often I'll say to my other half, I'm being really bad with drinking water, and I know this sounds basic, can you make sure that I drink enough water? Can you, when you go down, automatically, just if you're doing yourself a glass of squash, automatically just do me one, because it's going to get me back into that habit of, and I think it's the external care that comes in, which makes you start caring, is actually the vibration. But then I start drinking again, I start actually, and I'm going, no, okay, then I need to start getting back into those basics again. Angela said the word desire reaches higher. It does. I think it does. A want, actually, when you think about the vibration of the word want, even with that bit of harshness on the end with the T, and the, you know, feeling of that desire is quite clearly there. So yeah, I think it is I think the vibration is higher, and also the intent is higher as well. I absolutely agree with that, Angela. And actually, when we look at manifesting our desires, what we're really looking at is manifesting our life path, our life mission, our life purpose, all of that stuff. The stuff that we came here to do is the stuff that we love. So when we really invest ourselves into things that we love, we're doing our spiritual journey, because obviously a major part of our spiritual journey, in fact, the whole part of it of being here, is being human. It's spirit having a human's experience. So we have to completely invest ourselves in those things that we desire, because that's our humanity speaking. What am I doing here which I could not have done as a spirit floating about? And there's lots of stuff, but there's going to be certain things that really spark joy for you, which are, you know, really good stuff. So, you know, when we're looking, I really want us to look at what sparks joy in us. What are we doing out of a sense of duty, and making sure that we start flipping those two things around and focusing on what brings us joy, and trying to move away from what we're doing from a sense of duty. Like I said, it doesn't mean we don't go back to that stuff which was a duty, because it won't feel like a duty. At some point it will feel joyous if you're meant to do it.
Yeah.
Can we talk about money checks, please? The universe checks from the universe, please, Eloise.
Yeah. So over in my group, I teach how to use magic checks, and you can get a magic check for free from, if you just type in magic check into Google, it's the American spelling of check, CHECK, and you'll see one that looks like this. Now, magic checks are very special. I recommend printing out a few and looking after them very lovingly, because they are the most valuable pieces of paper you will ever own. So it's a manifestation tool, and the idea is it's quite fun, but it's also very intention focused, and you keep your intention on it throughout the time that you're using it. So basically, you write a check to yourself. Now, I love big goals. I love big, scary goals. But when it comes to money, our subconscious has a lot of junk to deal with. So what I recommend when you're writing your first magic check is to write a number that feels just a little bit scary, but not unbelievable. You have to warm up to big numbers with money, because your brain's just like, no, that's never going to happen. If there's not even a possibility of belief, it's just not going to happen. So you've been using them, and your husband Matt's been using them as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, they've made a massive difference to us. Massive difference. Yeah.
And you literally, it's as basic as writing a check to yourself, saying what you want. So you write the date that you want it paid. So I write my checks monthly for the end of the month. And when I started, I wasn't earning very much. I'd walked away from my job because I realized I didn't want to be employed anymore. And I found magic checks. I started writing them. Within 12 months, I tripled my monthly income.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was with some of them not getting paid. But what I noticed was when I wrote one every month, my income was going up even if I didn't hit the number. So the intention was coming back towards me, which was awesome. So I write them monthly, but you can write them for like a lump sum if you needed, if you wanted or desired £750 for something, you could write it for a lump sum. So they take a little bit of practice sometimes. It depends on the type of manifestor you are. Some people can manifest really quickly. I call it the Prime membership to the universe. They write a check and bang, it's paid within a week. I don't have the Prime membership. I haven't been sent that email. So I'm on the slow delivery. And sometimes it's a bit unreliable, but I know from writing these checks that the money is coming towards me, even if it doesn't arrive on time. So you write the check, and we all know how to write a check. We don't want to freak our subconscious out. So keep the number not too realistic, but not scary. It's a fine line. And then what you do is you display it so you can see it as much as possible, because energy goes where intention flows, or the other way around. The more you focus on your intention, the more magnetized it is towards you. So I've got a bureau desk, and mine goes in front of me on my huge chunk of blue kyanite that I've got just up here. But you could stick it on the fridge or on your altar, or, you know, some people have planners. You could use it as a bookmark. And some of my ladies take a picture of it and use it as their wallpaper.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah, I didn't think about doing that. I love that.
Yeah. And they are so powerful. I am the world's biggest skeptic when it comes to money alchemy, which might sound strange, bearing in mind that I'm a money alchemist. But I'm one of those people, I need proof that it works before, even though I know I need to believe it to see it, I do need to see it sometimes to believe it. And I've been testing all of the money alchemy tools for a long time, and magic checks do several things. They set and focus an intention. They're playful, and it's really important that we have a playful energy when we're manifesting stuff, because the universe is playful too. Like you said, it doesn't always send things the way you think. So you might think that, you know, if you write a check for £500, you might think that that £500 has to come through your business, but the universe isn't going to play that game. The universe is going to send you a couple of hundred here, a fiver there, maybe £1 on the floor, and then the rest of it might come as a gift.
A random tax rebate.
Yeah. And what we have to do, and what I think magic checks help us do the most, is unhook from the how. Like, don't sit there looking at your check and go, well, how am I ever going to make £2,000? Like, how's that going to work? Just write the check and surrender it to the universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And check in with it every day. Now, you might not get that £2,000 paid, but you can bet your bottom dollar it's going up. Whatever it was you were on last month, it's going to go up. And a lot of women that use it are really, really surprised at how fast that money comes towards them. I get messages that go, I only wrote my check last week, Eloise. I think it's been paid already. Like, great, write a new one. But what I also do with them is, when they do get paid, which is more often than not, even when you're new to it, I write on it, received with gratitude, or paid with thanks, and lots of love hearts. And I keep them very, very neatly. You don't have to do that. Some people like to release them with gratitude as well. But if they don't get paid, and there will be times when they don't get paid, because our mindset junk gets in the way of our intentions, something might happen that lowers our vibration, slows down the pull of that manifestation. I love burning stuff. Do it safely. I don't have a problem, don't worry. But I have a little cast iron cauldron.
Nice.
And what I do is I just rip it up and burn it. Or you could shred it or rip it up. But whatever you do, take what's left of it out into your garden or your bin. So like my burnt stuff will go. I've got a little patch of garden which I've got like all sorts of offerings that go out there. And I just send this off with good intention, because I know it's going to nourish the soil and go back out into the universe and come back some other way. But get it out of your inside house. Get it out. And I know you've had good successes with magic checks, haven't you?
Massive success. Like everyone, I mean, you know, even though, you know, I can say to I'm blue in the face, like, all of this stuff, we need this spiritual stuff, we need this emotional health, like this is stuff that we need. When people don't feel abundant, the first thing they do is to stop spending money on extra things. And my work falls into the extra things. So last year was really, really difficult. And that comes off the back of my husband having basically to shut down his business, take employed work. We've had massive issues. So I started working with him a bit, and I didn't really get into it. And then last year I was like I'm doing it. Like the end of last year I was like, come on, Rach, get your backside in gear. This is stuff that you can do. And so I started to write the checks out. And the first month I wrote a figure that was slightly, like you say, squeaky. You know? and then the next month I was like, they told me which figure to write down. I was like, no, don't be stupid. Like, that's a stupid figure to write down. I'm gonna go from that to that. Like, it was 3 times the amount. I was like, really? In 1 month? Yeah. And I got that plus another 80 quid or something like that. And I was like, okay, right. You know, this, and what's interesting is the way that I've always done manifestation around emotional mindsets, around what blocks I'm working through, whatever it is that I'm working through. And they work really well for actually grounding it out. And money is, for me, the grounding out of our energy. It's making our energy very, very real. And there's a huge amount of gratuity within money, and you know, all of that really good energy which comes in with it. So the more that I get into that, and at the moment I'm sort of doing fine tuning on the regular amount that I've got coming in, if that makes sense. I'm keeping it at that amount because work-wise I can't put any more on my plate, but I'm fine tuning that. So actually what I'm doing at the moment is I'm doing stuff like getting an admin assistant, and so I know that that's probably going to help me shift what I need to shift and bring more money in without actually having to do more work, because that's the issue I've got at the moment, is a lot of childcare. So you can imagine, lockdown and things like that hasn't been easy, but the cheques have worked really, really well for me. I do my check, I write on the back how I want that to come in. I want it to feel easy. I want it to feel all of the stuff actually that I do on the candle magic workshop. I put all of that stuff into the check, and then it gets crystals. I do a crystal grid. Always gets a candle, and always goes onto my altar in front of my goddess. So there's always an intention setting time around it. And funny enough, I never do it on time at the beginning of the month, but it always ends up being, there's always a reason why. I last couple of months, it's been to do with when my husband sold his cars, because he's also been selling cars besides his employed work. And it just so happens that I've gone, all right, okay, well, this evening we've got some time, we'll sit down together and do our checks. He sold, and his check hasn't paid out. He sold the car on that day when we've gone to rewrite the checks. Yes. So the check paid out on the day when we've gone to do it. So it's really weird the way that it's kind of worked out as we've gone to throw away the old check. The old check's gone, no, actually, no,
I'm not done yet.
I'm paying out.
Yeah. And you're right, money is a really earthly energy. And it's so magical as well. Like money can transform into anything you want, anything you desire, anything you need. It is so transformative, and in some cases it can transform back. Like your husband bought a car, fixed it up, and it transformed back into money. It's a really earthly energy, a really earthy magic that we use every single day. And you do a lot more with your checks, and I think I need to up my crystal candle game on it. Maybe that's why they're a little bit slower for me. But I love them. I'm testing at the moment if I can do 2 at a time, one for a lump sum and one for a monthly. But I'm not focused enough, so I'm going to end that test this month and not do it again. But I want to try it, because people do say to me, can I write 2 different checks? And I thought, well, I would say no, because the intention isn't pure. Then you're splitting your intention. But I wanted to give it a go, and for me, I need to focus on one thing. But if you're an absolutely marvelous manifestor and you can manifest more than one thing at once, it's definitely worth thinking about writing more than one. But I just remembered when you said that your check got paid and a little bit more. There's a law of attraction tip that I learned when I was doing my law of attraction coaching training, and I forgot to do it on my checks for the first 10 months. The day I did do it, it nearly doubled the check payment. So I think I got the check paid and then another 80% paid on top. Wow. So the tip is to, whatever the amount you write, so say it's 500 or 2,000 or 10,000, whatever it is, if you write or more on it, it allows the universe to flow more money to you. A lot of people will find that their checks are paid almost to the penny or thereabouts. As soon as you open it up to or more, like I said, the check nearly got paid twice, and I was like, it was a big check as well. Why did I not do this before? And then of course I had a freak out. but now I always write or more, and in the number box I put plus. So I'll write, £500 plus. So the universe knows that I'm willing to accept more if it's got it for me. So that's a really powerful little tip. Some people are intending that anyway without even realizing it, like you must have been with that. I write more on it. I write plus next to my number, because that's something which I think that a lot of people, if they're doing magical work and they're doing spell work, you've got to be really careful about the wording, really careful about the intention you put in, not being restrictive, which is why I do the emotional focus. What is it I'm focusing on? What is it that I want to work through? And for me, normally there is a mindset that I know I need to work through, and that mindset gets written out and it gets used in my monthly manifestation. I need to sort out my head around this, my head around that, because we know the more free our energy is, that actually the more our life is going to flow and bring everything to us that we need. And my idea of a desire is going to be completely different to somebody else's idea of a desire.
Well, my idea of comfort or luxurious lifestyle is going to be very different to somebody else's idea of comfort or a luxurious lifestyle. And that's okay. The whole idea is that you're manifesting, creating for you and for what suits you. Angela's just asked, do people often aim a bit low with their number?
Yeah, so sometimes they do, Angela, and it's a trust issue, trust and faith. As with all spiritual work, you have to have a bit of faith, don't you? You have to have a bit of faith that it's going to work. So what some people do is they go a bit low, and then, or they write it for an amount that they know is coming, and then it happens. So what I say to them is, yeah, write that again then on a month where you don't know that's coming. Or there are 8 different money personalities, and each personality will approach a magic check in a different way. Some would just go big and freak themselves out. Others will go very, very slow. So they'll add £5 to it each time. Others will add thousands of pounds each time. But yeah, some people go low just to test it. And then some people are like my archetype, which is the ruler, is looking for consistency. Rather than growth, it's looking for consistency. So I probably go a bit low for my archetype because it freaks my archetype out. I need to do some work on that. I just haven't had time. But yeah, so some people go low, but it confirms their faith. It's like, oh, well, I asked for 500 and I got 800. So maybe next time I'll ask for 800 and get 900. And it's a beautiful thing because it's so, without you knowing, this check inspires you into action that you couldn't even think about. You unhook from the how. You have to surrender it to the universe, and all sorts of ideas start coming towards you. Sometimes when I first started, I kept thinking, this number has to come through my business. It has to come through my business. And I wasn't even seeing money trying to come towards me in other directions. Now I've had to unhook from the fact that my magic check doesn't all come from my business. It comes from other things. The how we have to let go of. And I think that's true of any type of manifestation, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't need an action plan.
Absolutely. We get so caught up in our own heads about how things should look or how we want them to pan out and all the rest of it, that we forget often about why we want that thing. I always say, we can really focus ourselves on one thing. And like you say, actually, what you want is the stuff on the other side. It's not, what is it that money brings you? Money might bring you security. It might be bringing you a stable home life. It might be bringing you better education for your children. It could be bringing you a whole load of stuff. And actually, that's what you want to be focusing your energy on, is whatever it is that you want out on the other side. So the manifestation, you cannot put and that's a problem. If you Google spells, you're going to get a whole load of, I'm not being funny, rubbish often, which is very restrictive. It's got, I rewrite everything that I do for myself anyway, no matter what work that I do. So focusing on the energy, focusing on the emotion, and actually putting that into the check really, really works, because it's what I want the money to bring for. And it's not just me, it will be absolutely be for me and my family, because I could survive on a lot less than what I'm currently spending out at. So it is what also, I've got a question actually, Eloise. Say for example, if you are employed and every single month I'm going to be getting my check of X amount, actually I want something in addition to that, and then doing a check and maybe putting a caveat or an intention somewhere on the back or something to say this is the extra money, not including my employment or something like that.
Yeah, so if you're doing a monthly check, what I recommend is you look around at what's already coming in and then add to it. So if you're earning £2,000 a month and you want 2,500, write a check for 2,500. If you're doing a one-off check, the intention you set is for a one-off payment.
Yeah.
So you would know that your money's coming in, but you need an extra 500 quid because you're going on holiday. You'd write a check for the extra £500. It's all about the intention. So long as the universe knows that you don't want £500, you want £500 extra, you're going to be fine. But yeah, if you're doing monthly, roll it all together. You might be surprised just how much you've got coming in. So I was, when I started, I thought, oh, well, I only get my money from my business. And when I looked, I get interest from my investments. I have a pension. I've been a pensioner since the age of 23. So I get a pension from the military. I think, sometimes some people get child benefit, child support, all of these things, refunds. This sort of money's coming in and we don't even see it, you know. So, and you know, we're both from doTERRA, so there's like points that can turn into money as well. I found it was nearly 150 quid's worth of points in my account. So it can come in from all sorts of directions, but be very specific with the universe. If it's a monthly check, roll in your income and add the extra. If it's just a one-off that you need this month or next month, write on with your intention to be for extra. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, perfect. That's really, really good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We've probably come to the end of the evening. I've popped Eloise's group up a couple of times on the bottom, but that's still the right website address?
That's the website, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a free assessment on that website as well. So if you want to find out your money personality.
That's what got me hooked. That's what got me hooked in was the money personality test. And it was good. It was really good. When Eloise came back, I was like, oh yeah. And I think I sent you some emails saying, I'm sorry, like I know that it's not normal. I know that some of the stuff, I can see me ticking the stuff, knowing it's all true, but knowing that that's not normal. And you're like, it's fine. You've got about 3 different personality types. It's fine. Back to me. And it all made complete sense with how everything linked in together. So that's well worth doing is the money personality test. That is the link to the group. What I'll do is I'll put that in a clickable link in the comments so you can click in and have a look in. And the also, if you want to go to my site, I'll put the link up later as well. If you want to sign up for, and it's Saturday of next week, Saturday afternoon of next week, I have the candle magic workshop, which you can then, I'll show you how to do. And in fact, I might start talking about the checks in the workshop, and I can pass it back to your group, Eloise, which is probably a good idea. So where I will do all sorts of intention setting all around the energy of the season, bringing all of that wonderful spring energy in to manifestation. And also I do like the whole like hedge witchery. A good witch always has stuff in her house or his house. So I expect that you will find that there'll be things in your garden, in your neighborhood, and in your house where you'll be able to do a huge amount of magic that you didn't think that you were capable of. And it is good fun. And that's the thing about the checks, is that they are good fun. That's the thing about the candle magic workshop, is that it is good fun. It's all tangible, real stuff. And when we start making it real, we're physically making changes happen in our life. That's what we want, is change. No point being all up here and making it all pretty in our heads if our lives aren't changing in real time. So that's a really, really important part of the work. Have you got any workshops or anything, bits and pieces coming up at the moment?
I do. I have a Money Alchemy masterclass, which is free, and it's running on the 4th of May at 8 p.m. and it's a beautiful evening. I've run it before. You come and learn about money alchemy, not just the good stuff, but also the challenging stuff. I'm pretty honest about the challenging stuff as well. And on this masterclass, I will actually take you to meet money in all of her gorgeous energy.
Great.
So yeah. So that's
highly recommend that. I'll pop all the links up. And that is, I presume, that'll be advertised on your group and everything like that, Eloise.
Yeah. And if you find me on Facebook, on the banner, on my the bit that goes above the top, you can click on that and sign up for the masterclass. Yeah. Okay,
cool, brilliant. I'll make sure all of the links are on there for everybody. Next week it will be Divine Channeled Message. It will be next Friday. So please come along just to hear whoever turns up and whoever I channel. you will receive a wonderful message that hopefully will make some sort of sense with everything that's going on at the moment. And which is always enlightening for me as well, because I can assure you a lot of these concepts I know do not come from me, because they are new and surprising. And all of my insight I always put, it's not quite true, but I always like to blame spirit, because I don't think that I could make up half of this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Stuff's coming out of my mouth. I'm like, wow, that's really nice. God, it's amazing. So please join me next Friday if you'd like some inspiration, a little bit of woo-woo-ness. We like a little bit of woo-woo-ness on our Friday evenings. And everyone have a really fabulous Easter. I'm just going to catch up in the comments. I think there's a couple there. Thanks, Angela. Thank you, Sarah. And we will
welcome.
see you all soon. Have a great Easter.
Bye.